What's up everyone? So Zenless Zone Zero is out, I've been playing it, and I'm sure you guys are like me where most of the time I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. There's so much crap going on my screen, there's all these numbers, all these attacks and effects going on, it can be really confusing. But don't you worry, I've been studying the game's combat, and in this video I'm going to share everything you need to know about the combat. I'll also have some tips for team building as an added bonus, so be sure to stay for the end of the video since I can guarantee you with this video your combat will improve by a ton. So let's kick things off with the basics. At the top left of your screen is your character's health bar, and to the bottom of this is your character's energy bar. A character can gain energy just by being on field, as well as attacking enemies and dodging enemies' attacks. Now for characters' attacks, you've got your basic attack which you can press repeatedly for a combo, and you've got this special ability which, for the sake of simplicity, let's just call it a skill. Just like normal attacks, you can attack enemies with your skill as much as you want, but a unique thing about them is that if you've reached a certain amount of energy, which you'll know by the energy bar glowing purple, you can perform a special version of your skill as indicated by the skill icon being colored. This special version is always much stronger than the non-special version. It deals way more damage and has all sorts of special effects that come with it. So because of this, you want to repeatedly be switching between your party members so you can maximize the energy regeneration between them all. Characters' bursts also make a return, but this time with a really big twist. So the way you use a character's burst actually has nothing to do with a character's energy. A character's energy all has to do with the special skills we've just gone over. This time around, characters' bursts are actually locked to the point counter on the left of your screen. When you keep attacking enemies and dodge their attacks, the counter will go up, maxing out at 3000. Once you hit 3000, then you're able to use a unit's burst. However, you're only able to use one character's burst and not the other two in your team, since upon using a burst, the point counter will go all the way down back to 0. So when it comes to bursts, you only want to use the burst of your damage dealer and not of your supports or any other type of units. On top of all this, you also have a sprint and dodge button, which are self-explanatory. You can dodge up to 2 times in a single instance. In the midst of a dodge, if you attack, your character can actually perform a dodge attack, which is always cool to do. And you can perform a perfect dodge if you dodge just before an enemy is about to hit you. But a special and far more damaging version of this dodge is the parry mechanic in the game. See, you also have a button to switch characters at will. When an enemy attacks, there will be this certain sound and golden light that emits from the enemy attacking. If at that moment you switch to a teammate, you'll do a perfect assist. In this moment, immediately attack to perform a follow-up to get in some easy and high damaging hits. This move is very powerful since you can constantly attack enemies while interrupting their attacks, but there is a certain limit to these kinds of attacks, specifically 6. You can only perform them 6 times, but with your ultimate and chain attacks, you can recover the ability to do some more of them. There will be instances in which enemies' attacks don't light up golden, instead they're red, but this all just has to do with the fact that you're not able to perform any more parries or perfect assists, so just be sure to perform the moves that'll recover them and keep track of them as best as you can. Real quick, if you're in a tight situation where you're taking multiple hits and you're unable to move, there's the quick assist move you can make use of by pressing the switch character button. This is a great way to shift a battle and quickly go on the offensive. Let's now get into a very important mechanic of the game, which is something you'll always want to take advantage of. So under enemies' health bars, there is also another bar. This is what is called the daze bar. As you attack enemies, this bar will accumulate, eventually causing opponents to be stunned. When stunned, opponents are unable to attack or move, and when they're hit, they take a massive amount of increased damage, as shown here. This is huge and something you always want to be looking out for. This plays into another incredibly powerful attack that's very easy to perform. When you hit a stunned monster, if the attack is considered a heavy attack, you can trigger what is called a chain attack, where in a few split seconds, you can swap over to another of your units and dish out a very powerful attack. It's really fun to do and can make quick work of lots of enemies if spammed. While I just mentioned heavy attacks, to be honest, you really don't have to worry about this, since many of the attacks we've just gone over count as a heavy attack. So your basic attacks, special skills, and even dodges count as heavy attacks. So with all that being said, these are all the different attacks available in Zenless Zone Zero. Yeah, it's a lot. Honestly, if you didn't feel like you followed, I'd recommend watching my explanation again just so it really sticks, but I'm gonna be completely honest, while it may seem like a lot, truthfully it's actually not that much. In practice, you can easily remember all of this, and really with no time, it will become second nature. Anyhow, let's get into the character types and make sense of what different types of characters there are and what their roles are. So in the game, there are currently 5 different types of characters. The first is Attack. These are essentially your main damage dealers or your main DPSs. They deal tons of damage and should be again the one to use their bursts in fights. Then there are Stun units. These are units that excel at increasing opponents' daze bars, causing them to be stunned and take increased damage. Because of this, stun characters are very valuable and very effective to play right now. Next up is Defense. Defense agents protect your team and allow them to stay in fights by providing counterattacks and giving shields to their team. Regarding anomaly focused agents, they give out debuffs to the monsters you're fighting and apply tons of their elements to enemies, such as electric, fire, or physical. When enough of an element is applied to an enemy, there's various reactions that occur. For example, for ice, if there's enough ice applied to an enemy, the enemy can become frozen, or they can be in a state called frostbite, where they take increased crit damage from attacks. Finally comes the support type. As expected, supports give out great buffs to the teams, making them much stronger than before. And now let's finally get into team building. While we're not going to go in depth in the best teams currently or the best teams to use for a specific unit, the tip that I am going to give you is a very important tip that applies to each and every team you're going to be playing, and is something you need to adhere to if you want to defeat enemies quickly and deal the most damage possible. So when you're building your team, you don't want to just put whoever you think is going to work or whoever looks good together. Rather, you want to match 2 things when it comes to characters. First is element type. So as I'm sure you all know, there's a variety of elements or attributes in the game, and the key is that when you're making a team for someone you want to play, you need to match that agent's element with at least one other unit. This is because every agent has an additional ability that is only used or only effective when there's another unit that is in their team and that shares that same attribute or element. And mind you, these additional abilities are very strong and is something you definitely don't want to miss out on. Now, if you're unable to match a character's element type, there is also the option of matching a character's faction. Notice that with every character in the game right now, they belong to a certain faction. Well, if you play at least 2 units that are from the same faction, a character's additional ability will be activated just as if you were to pair them with another unit that shares their same element. Then comes these Bagboo guys. I'm mentioning them now because these little guys actually play a role in your teams. In fact, they're actually your 4th team member. They may look dumb, but they can actually have a big impact on your teams. There's all kinds of different types of Bagboos in the game, each having their own stats and abilities. The caveat is that some of them are meant for specific teams, like Mono Ice teams. Well everyone, this is my beginner guide to the combat of Zenless Zone Zero. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned from it, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Be sure to also expect some more Zenless Zone videos. But beyond this, I would like to know, what do you guys think of the game so far? For me, honestly, I would say it's a little weird, but I can still see myself playing it in the future. But with that, thank you all for watching, take care, and thank you all for watching once again.